Jim Duquette and the guys over at SNY give us the latest on Pete Alonso, where he stands with the New York Mets, and lets us know if other teams are involved. Next on MetCast. What's going on, everybody? I'm Ray. Welcome back to MetCast. And yes, the rumors keep flying that Pete Alonso offered the New York Mets a 3-year contract with potential outs, and supposedly it may be exclusively only to the New York Mets. I want to get to the latest segment on SNY that was just filmed tonight. I believe they bring on Jim Duquette. I have not watched it yet. I will react live with you guys next.
We're going with an opener today as we welcome in Jim Duquette, who made some news this morning. Jim, what's the latest with Pete Alonso and the Mets?
Well, Sal, this was in the context of there's a report out there about the Boris Corporation trying to target Prince Fielder's old contract, which was about 10 years ago, 9 years, in that $214 million range. So I was doing some digging, and I found out league sources told me that, in fact, that was not true, but the Mets had.
I think we all knew that wasn't true. A 9-year contract for Pete Alonso when he wouldn't accept the Mets a couple of years ago for 7, but 9 years. Who on earth is giving him 9 years? Nobody. We all knew that coming into the offseason. I thought that report was bogus once we first heard it as well.
Had been given the option or offer from the Boris Corporation for a 3-year deal with Pete Alonso, exclusively to them only, 3 years with opt-outs after each year. Basically,
3 years opt-outs after each year. I would be all over that if I'm the New York Mets, because next year is a strong first base class. Again, Alonso will probably find it difficult to get that long-term extension. He is a year older, so I doubt if people aren't willing to pay for him at age 30, at age 31, when the analytics are going to be pointing downward for him, that he's going to be getting the contract that he wants.
The Cody Bellinger deal from about a year ago. Bellinger's deal was 3 years, around $80 million. So I don't know that
I would sign up for that. Would you sign up for it? I 100% would. It gives Alonso also motivation to continue to be a good Met and potentially get his number retired in the future. But not only that, if he has the opportunity to hit free agency again, he's going to want to have the best year that he could possibly have. Some of these guys get paid and lose their motivation right away. I'm not saying Alonso would be that kind of guy, but it happens to some of these players. Look at Bellinger having a down year last year. Maybe if Alonso has opt-outs after every year, then he could set his own market pretty much every single year for the next 2 off seasons.
Financial part, I don't think it was that number. Presumably it was higher than that, but it was the structure was the same, 3 years with opt-outs after each year. And it was one of those things, Sal, where, as my sources were telling me, that it was only offered to the Mets first, which, basically tells me that other teams, weren't going to be offered that, but maybe down the road if the Mets don't bite.
Okay, so.
But what other teams? I would love for Jim, who's a former general manager, tell us what those teams could be. The Giants, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be them. Toronto's obsessed with extending Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Not the Phillies, not the Dodgers, not the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees, no, they just got Goldschmidt. Houston, no, they just got Christian Walker. And the team that Walker left just spent a boatload of money on Corbin Burns. I don't see them paying him either. So there are no other teams out there. The facts are the facts. That's just it. So Pete's kind of stuck with the Mets, and the Mets are kind of stuck with Pete at this point too, when you really think about it.
I saw this, Jim, as a little bit of desperation by Boris, trying to gain leverage by getting Mets fans behind him, because the thinking is, well, shoot, Pete for 3 years, what's the holdup here? You have actually negotiated with Boris before, so how do you read how he is playing this?
Yeah, so first off, he's definitely putting it back into the Mets court for sure, and there's definitely certainly pressure there from Mets fan base, and certainly all over Instagram and all over Twitter today. I think from that side.
I don't think Scott Boras is monitoring Twitter or Instagram, to be honest with you.
Side of things. I mean, the debate is: do you want Pete Alonso on a short-term deal? And that's pretty, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, the ideal situation for both sides. Pete didn't get the deal that he was looking for. He goes back to a familiar organization. The Mets need him. Perfect fit, obviously, lineup-wise. He can handle New York. But it's also one of those things where there was a report out there that there were 6 or 8 teams involved with Pete or interested in Pete. I don't buy that. I do buy that if this is an offer or that is a 3-year deal that is still sitting out there and the Mets are trying to negotiate for a period of time, you might get that many teams that will jump in and have interest. I mean, certainly the Giants and the Angels, you could talk the Red Sox, the Mariners. I would even see a team like Tampa who needs a power bat like that, power would jump in for that price tag if it was available to them.
Tampa, their entire payroll is going to be like $30-40 million. They're not ever going to be in on Pete Alonso. Think about this. Early in the offseason, the Tampa Bay Rays have checked in on Juan Soto. They're making an offer of $200 or $300 million. Come on. They're going to be playing in a minor league ballpark next year. They're going to have 10,000 fans there. It's a joke right now what Tampa Bay is doing. I understand they had the thing happen to their stadium, but they can't get in a major league stadium. They don't have fans anyways in Tampa. They get 5,000 or 6,000 fans a night. They announce, we sold 20,000. You ever been there? It's a morgue. Brutal place to play. The aesthetics are brutal. Even watching it on television is brutal.
Right now, though, it only seems like it's available to the Mets.
So, Jim, if you're David Stearns and you're in his shoes, how are you playing it at this point?
Well, I'm looking at this as a perfect scenario, right? So the Mets were willing, and if I was David Stearns, they were willing to make this offer, which they did back in the spring to Pete. 6-year deal, is 158 in that range. 5 years, 138. However you want to value it of free agent dollars, and he's offering this to me, the Boras Corp for less money, and certainly it's less guaranteed. These are. There's no kind of risk-free type of contracts ever, I feel like, but 1-year deals, 2-year deals, any of those opt-outs, I would try to get a 2-year guaranteed deal. I wouldn't want necessarily him to opt out after year 1. I think Pete's going to have a huge year, especially with that.
I would probably prefer that too. Give him an opt-out after the 2nd year. You want to lock in for 2 years, unless the Mets have plans on going after a bigger fish, which is always the opportunity. Think about it. Vlad Guerrero Jr., he might be a free agent next offseason. Kyle Tucker, guys like that are going to be out there. You want to be locked into Pete Alonso for 25 to 30 million the following year. So you want, like Jim just said, let Pete have a monster year. So then it balls in your part, because you could either choose A, to sign him, or B, go younger with Vlad or Kyle Tucker. So all options are still on the table. It's a win-win for the Mets, in my opinion.
Lineup there, and with Soto there and the rest of the group, I think, going back for what he did a couple years ago, I think this is a 40 homer, 115 RBI type of season for Pete. So I'd try to see if I could get 2 years instead of having an opt-out after 1. But at the end of the day, if that's the deal and it ends up 90 million or somewhere in that range, 95 million bucks, I'm trying to sign him up as quickly as I can, because I think Pete's going to have a large season.
And that's what you have from Jim Duquette. I agree with him. I think Pete's going to end up settling for that 3-year contract, probably an opt-out after every year. That's probably what the negotiations are going to be between the Mets and Pete Alonso. Will the Mets give him an opt-out after every single year? I'm not totally sold on that. Maybe after years 2, you give him a single opt-out. I don't know if it's plausible to give him one after year 1 and year 2, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Are you comfortable giving Pete a 3-year, $90 million contract? Odds are that'll be the last contract that he gets in MLB with the Mets, at least. I don't know if the Mets would bring him back, maybe as a DH role, but by then you have Juan Soto that's going to be in his 30s. You have Lindor that's going to be in his mid-30s. A lot can change in those couple of years, but let me know what you guys think down in the comments. And if you like our content, I ask you to like and subscribe, help support the channel. We enjoy bringing you all the latest content when it comes to our New York Mets. This offseason is going to get really kicking off. I think you're going to start seeing the the trade market starts to get active, which is going to be really interesting. I think that the Mets are going to be really involved in the trade market. David Stearns talked about in the offseason early on that is a potential for the Mets. They have a big farm system that has a lot of players that are ready to come up right now. The Acuñas, the Gilberts, the Williams, the Mauricios, the Beatties, all these guys are ready to be in the major leagues pretty much right now. Maybe you swap that out, get some real high-end starting pitching here. Brandon Sproat's coming up. We don't know what he's going to necessarily be. But again, thanks for sticking around, everybody. Leave a comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the video. And until next time, take care.